So you guys have been in Daggerford for a little while, and this is a very small town, but it's very important. This is where a lot of adventurers, they go into the marsh, they go into the forest, and they're looking for all of these old lost elven civilizations. Just trying to make names for themselves. So maybe all of you, maybe you're trying to make names for yourselves. And this is a great starting point. Lots going on around here in Daggerford. Lots to explore. The town's a pretty decent size. There's all kinds of locations here. And it's a rural town, basically. Although I would say there's probably at least 12 to 1,500 people that live here at a minimum at all times. But, around the midsummer, or where we're at now in the adventure, the population of Daggerford swells. A lot of the empty residences are rented out, and a lot of the houses are moved back in because, this is where all the people come from up and down the Sword Coast, all the way from Luskan to the north, the Baldur's Gate to the south. And this is an annual festival of games that's going on for the next couple of months. All kinds of merchants come into Daggerford. They're trying to hawk their wares. All of the streets are crowded. There's, all kinds of contests going on, from jousting to archery to tug-of-war, and even Rain's favorite thing, pie-eating contests and mud wrestling. But this year is a little bit different, because there's actually, the entire time you've been here, it's kind of, the whole mood has been dampered because of the torrential rainfall that's been going on the entire time the festivities have been going on. Dark black clouds, all kinds of winds coming off of the Sword Coast from the Sword Sea, darkened streets. It's just been miserable. Your shoes have been muddy the entire time. So you're in this packed inn, and you're getting a little bit of reprieve from the storm that's been hampering all the festivities outside, drinking some fine drink from the Lady Luck Tavern, enjoying some music. The storm hasn't let up in the couple hours that you've been here, and it doesn't even seem like the storm's going to end anytime soon. So, seeing that everybody's been inside of the Lady Luck Tavern, there's been a couple of events that's happened in the past couple of weeks. And of course, the storm has given rise to quite a few tales of gossip and recent events that have happened in Daggerford. One is a tattooed man was captured and was actually believed to be one of the rare red wizards from Thay. Ooh. The lands of Thay are way to the east. They're on the other side of Faerun. But one of these red wizards, which his name has been found out to be Arvik Zaltos, which is A-R-V-I-K, Zaltos with a Z. He was actually disguised and working for Lord Flotian as one of his gardeners. And of all things, this guy is... Whoa, somebody dropped a glass over there. Pick it up, woman. You wench. Pick it up and clean up that mess. So anyway, this red wizard, Arvik Zaltos, was working with the Lord Flotian as a gardener, and was in cahoots with some of the local orcs from the High Forest. And Lord Flotian's estate was attacked and looted by these same orcs, along with Arvik Zaltos, a couple of nights ago. And come to find out, this red wizard, Arvik, was behind all of this. And that's why, as part of the festivities today, there's going to be a hanging in town. And Arvik Zaltos is the one that's going to be hung. Everybody's excited. This is going to be a big family event, right? But there's one last thing. It's a good thing that Lord Flotian was not home during this attack. He's one of the nobles of the area, and he and his contingency of guards, they're the ones that actually kind of protect the outlying area of Daggerford. Not Daggerford itself, but the farmsteads around Daggerford. And he's been doing this for 20 years, ever since he moved back to the Daggerford area. But it's a good thing he wasn't there, because he could have been captured, and he's a very important member of society around here in Daggerford. But unfortunately, some of his servants, they were captured. And of course, with the gossip and everything, you hear several of the patrons in the Lady Luck Tavern say, "Oh, may the gods protect them. They're in the hands of those filthy orc. Oh, only one can imagine what horrible fate is in store for all of them." Oh, so that's what you guys have heard today in the Lady Luck Tavern. But the hanging's going to be in the next hour or so. So everybody's getting juiced up inside of the Lady Luck Tavern. Everybody's getting their rotten fruit ready so they can have a party here with the hanging of Arvik Zoltos. So what do you guys think? As you're kicking back here in the tavern having a good time.
Zero's at the bar. He's thinking about the hanging, and he decides that he's just going to stare right into the dude's eyes.
Well, he's not around yet. Nobody has seen this Arvik Zoltos. He's, you guys are in the tavern, so you have about another hour before he's going to be paraded through the main square of Daggerford, and that's when probably all of the rotten fruit and vegetables and haunches of meat are going to start flying. But it seems like that's
right.
Dominating the conversation here within the Lady Luck Tavern. I mean, everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to the barkeep. I'm going to look at the dude's eyes.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a great thing as he picks up like a box, a bushel, and sets it on the counter, and it has written in common on it, rotten fruit. So everybody's going up to the box and getting a couple of handfuls so they can get ready to toss the stuff at Arvik. He said, "You better hurry up and grab you a couple pieces before it's all gone. It's not like we get a good hanging like this in Daggerford very often. This is a treat for this year's festivities."
When the box gets low, Rain's going to sit in the box.
You're going to climb up on top of the... He goes, "What are you doing there?"
Sitting.
"Oh, well, feel free to. Just don't tell anybody you're shitting."
I move away.
It's a box. I sit.
Sort of like a kitty litter box for the tabaxi. I like it. Give yourself an
just a
inspiration for that. Give yourself an inspiration. I like that. So you have 2 inspirations. So don't forget to use these inspirations, because you're going to lose them if you don't use them, sister. Use it or lose it, sister.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dave. I'm sitting around the table and I'm hearing these rumors, and the barkeep talking about the vegetables, and I look at my companions at the table, and I motion over to the column, and I'd like to step over to the column and just say some quick prayers.
Sure. Lots of names on the column. I mean, the dates go back several hundred years of people that have, died in Daggerford, whether it be of natural causes or adventuring or maybe attacks on Daggerford in the past. Lots of names. All the way from the top of the ceiling all the way down to the base of the floor.
All right, so I know this column. I can remember long ago coming here, at a younger age.
As a wee young lad?
Yeah, and I put my parents and my sister's names on this column, and I can't quite remember where, but I'd like to look and see if I can find them.
I like that. Sure, you remember where you etched them into the pole? Sure. Mom and Dad are right in front of you. Breeze, what about you?
Breeze is basically trying to keep to herself, still a little awkward with social cues from her past.
No problem. The bartender, which his name is Jonathan, that you've been able to, just from simple chatter from the last couple times you've been in there. He's asked you if what you guys are doing here in Daggerford. You know, he's seen you guys the last couple of weeks, but he hasn't seen you prior to that. I mean, are you here just for the festivities? Or are you here for adventure? Are you going to be one of the groups that go out into maybe the forest or maybe the marsh? Or do you plan on taking work at Kromm's Hold? Jonathan is quite intrigued with all of you, especially the cat lady.
Well, everyone likes a good pussy.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. I'm gonna give you one of these for that. Hey, want to see my? Never mind. So you guys trying to listen to the rumors and listen to the other patrons of the Lady Luck Tavern to see what's going on?
Brain
Anybody
definitely
mingling
is.
with anyone? Anybody mingling with Jonathan? Jonathan likes to. You've noticed that Jonathan, the barkeep, he likes to speak with all of the patrons.
Yeah, I'd like to walk up and ask him, where we might find this Lord Floshin.
Well, he says, I believe Lord Floshin will probably be here today for the hanging. I imagine he and Lord Istival, they're good friends, so I expect them to be here along with the Duke and Lady of Daggerford. It seems like this is going to be a big event here. This guy, he obviously looks to be one of those evil red wizards of Thay from the east. And it's unfortunate that this happened to the Floshin estate, but the rumor has it that this Arvik, he didn't divulge any information, or he did not name any accomplices that worked with him. What I did hear was Lady Daggerford actually offered him some type of amnesty. Maybe even was going to let him free if he came up with other names. But he kept his mouth shut. And that's why both the Duke and the Lady were quick to pronounce a sentence of death by hanging to this Arvik, because he wouldn't divulge any information. I think it's pretty fair. I think they need to hang the bastard. You know, there's some good people from the estate that have actually been taken, and hopefully we can find them before the orcs kill them, or maybe try to sell them into some type of labor. And what are you confused about, Rain?
Well, the fact that they didn't kill the servants right then and there. They're orcs. From my understanding, this is kind of their thing.
You're right.
And I don't, if he was, what he was trying to get and why he did it when the Lord wasn't there. Wouldn't it make more sense to do it when the Lord was there? You can get more stuff.
I agree. But thankfully he wasn't there. I don't know if it was pre-planned. No. What?
It had to be pre-planned.
Of course it was pre-planned.
So then why wouldn't he have done it when the Lord was there and get more stuff?
Maybe because the Lord left unexpectedly. That's the only thing that I could think of.
I overhear all this and walk up, and I think a bigger strategy is going on here.
And I think what do you mean?
I think somebody's pulling his string. I think he's a scapegoat.
You think he is? That could be possible. You know, there have been... he's obviously working with the orcs, because he was the only one that, and he's doing air quotes here, made it out of the Floshin, the estate. But there's been a lot more sightings of these orcs from the north. So we don't know if there's going to be another orc attack on Daggerford or what. But if there is, the Lady of Daggerford hopefully will be prepared. And plus we have Serestival. He's an old retired Purple Dragon Knight. So he'll be here to help defend the town. And plus we have, a small contingency of militia here, but I don't think it's too much. But I believe there's a reserve that Lady Daggerford has at her disposal also. But hopefully we won't have to deal with those orcs like from the old raids from the days of old. Lots of people died. But I also thought that Serestival, back in his adventuring days, way before the horrendous accident of fighting an ancient dragon and getting his leg almost mauled off by one of these things, and that, of course, that's why he limps nowadays and has to have a cane to aid his walking. But he used to be one of those hunters for the Red Wizards. So he's actually taken a little bit of interest in this matter as well. But the event itself actually happened 4 days ago, and this Arvik Zoltos, he was actually, rumors had it, I don't know why I'm telling you all of this, but this is just hearsay. You have to take this with a grain of salt, because you don't know. I've just heard this from all of the other patrons inside of the Lady Luck Tavern, and when the wine and all of the ales start to flow, and everybody gets a little loose, their lips get a little bit loose, and you don't know what you can believe or not. But this is just stuff that I've heard hearsay from the other patrons. But it seems like this tattooed guy, this Red Wizard Arvik, he was captured a couple days ago, which the attack happened 4 days ago. But he was actually in the company of some other shady individuals. A couple of my other patrons yesterday told me, and nobody had seen them. They don't know if they were here for the festivities or not, but that shortly after that, that's when Arvik was nabbed up by all of the guard here in Daggerford.
Can you tell me more about these wizards?
The Red Wizards?
Yeah.
They're from the lands far to the east, the lands of Thay. And there's been quite a few, supposedly. And, this is... Give me a history check. Give me a history check first.
In the tower, or just out?
You can give it to me in the tower, sure.
Alright, let me find it. It's under all these maps.
No problem. You can right-click on that and unlock it and move it anywhere you want to.
Oh, I know, I did. Maps.
Tighten up over there, Miss Scarlet.
It's been a while.
I know. The only thing that you remember about the Wed Wizards of Thay, that they're far to the east in the lands of Thay. And the only other thing that you know would be that an Archlich by the name of Zastam, within the last several years or so, has basically taken control of the lands of Thay. And that's why the wizards are starting to leave and move to the west, is because they are now being controlled by this Archlich. And he's raising massive armies of undead. So that's the only thing that you really know. But there are some very powerful wizards of Thay.
Do you know what kind of magic they do?
Any kind of magic. Necrotic, abjuration, evocation, they can cast any type of magic. Arcane, anyway.
Why was one a gardener?
I'm sure there's probably some Thayan gardeners over there. I'm sure there's a few. But with all of this, undead that's being brought up and, summoned, I'm sure the lands are actually in pretty bad shape now. I would assume so anyways. Death and decay everywhere in the lands of Thay.
There's something not sitting right with me. It could be this apple under my tail.
So the hour has about gone by since this hanging of Arvik Zoltos is going to happen. Anybody else doing anything before we move the clock ahead a little bit more?
Know more about his tattoos.
They're just all kinds of... They look... Well, you can't see them, but you will be soon, because now the time is here. The hanging of Arvik Zoltos is... you can hear outside of the Lady Luck Tavern. You can hear that... you can hear voices, and you can hear screaming. You can hear, kill him! Hang him! You know, like throw mama from the train type of voices. Throw him! Kill him! So a lot of people are starting to gather. And the patrons inside of the Lady Luck Tavern, they're going over to the window, and a couple of them are shouting, hey, the hanging's happening! Let's go outside, everybody! So everybody's now grabbing their fruit, their rotten vegetables. And as you start to go outside, the foul weather just is not letting up at all. It actually kind of fits...
Sitting in the window because she's not going out in the rain.
Okay, you can sit inside of the tavern. That's no problem at all.
In the windows, though.
But it kind of fits the theme of a hanging in this bad weather. You know, you can see all throughout the town banners on top of the rooftops, water, you know, trickling off of the roofs and in puddles on the ground, mud everywhere. You know, it seems like it's really grim. But although you can hear everything, you know, everybody's screaming, everybody's rain drenched, the crowd's gathering, you know, under all of these, you know, the wooden gallows and stuff. Everybody's trying to keep dry, but it just isn't happening in the town square. And you can see the town guards. They're starting to come through the area where you guys are at the Lady Luck Tavern. And as the guards are processing by, there's a hangman that's masked in all black. And the crowd, you know, all of a sudden starts to really turn towards anger as you can see the prisoner going by. And you can see that he's shackled, his arms are shackled, his feet are shackled. He's walking very slow. I mean, he is stripped down to nothing but basically a loincloth. And beside him, there is a warrior, and he's got a limp. And you know that this is Sir Istival. And this is Sir Istival, what he looks like. I mean, this guy looks like a badass. I mean, he really does. He's got that huge great sword slung over his shoulder, over his back. He's like a beacon of light in all of this gloom. You can tell that he is one of these holy knights. And he's walking alongside of this Red Wizard of Thay, keeping an eye on all of the proceedings that's going on. And then a few paces behind him is a noble, which you actually know of him as Lord Floshin. So he's following a couple of feet behind Lord Istival. Well, Sir Istival. So as this Red Wizard of Thay is being brought by, the malice of the crowd is pure anger. You know, there's a lot of people that were taken from the estate, so all of a sudden all this fruit, all these rotten vegetables are being thrown at this guy. And he's wearing nothing but a loincloth. And you do notice, Rain, that his tattoos are like a serpentine type of color, and they're all nothing but like runes and glyphs. Nothing that you see, actually you don't recognize any kind of language or anything like that. And the one thing that you also see is with, you know, his ankles and his wrists are bound, his eyes and mouth have been sewn shut. Actually kind of gross. You know, blood is kind of coming down his face, and it's actually a pretty hideous sight. So the thunder is rolling. The thunder isn't even drowning the roar of the crowd. You know, you can hear, kill the wizard! You can hear one old woman says, filth for the maggots! And then all of a sudden you start to hear a couple of horses neigh. And as they're starting to walk up onto the platform in the middle of the marketplace, you see a very decorated wagon, and in one of the windows, the curtain kind of parts, and you can see that there is a very noble-looking man in there, human, and you recognize it as Duke Maldwin Daggerford. He is basically the leader of Daggerford, and his sister, Lady Morwen Daggerford, she is the one that she is the master of arms of Daggerford. And Sir Estival, he basically is an advisor to both the Duke and the Lady. So there's a lot of important individuals here for this execution. And you can hear other things, being yelled, "To hell's with him!" And, they get him up on the top, and you can see that inside of this wagon, there's the Duke. So they're starting to put this noose around the wizard's neck. And you can see that the tattoos on this wizard is starting to glow very dimly. So you can hear a lot of, gasp in the crowd, because this is a sight of horror, especially with his eyes sewn shut, his mouth sewn shut. And then Sir Estival, he draws his greatsword. And then, moments later, the captain of the guard signals over to the hangman to pull the trapdoor level. And then all of a sudden, after a very, very, very quiet silence falls over the crowd, you hear the lever being pulled. The trapdoor disappears from under the feet of Arvik Zaltos, and there he hangs, swinging in the wind, coming off of the Sword Sea. So everything is really quiet, and then all of a sudden lightning flashes. The wizard is dead. The body is hanging there, and then his serpentine color tattoos fade out. And then, you can hear all of a sudden other members of the crowd start to, say, "He deserved it!" And, a bunch of other fruit are hitting him as he is swaying on the platform. And then Sir Estival, the hangman, the Duke, and the Lady, they all leave the platform, and they're standing down below. And it seems like the crowd is starting to disperse a little bit. And then all of a sudden you hear a horse galloping in, clop, clop, sort of like Patsy from Holy Grail clicking coconuts. You know what I mean? And there's a rider on there, a drenched rider, as the lightning is going off, in the background, thunder. And everybody's starting to wonder what the heck is going on. And he seems to be drawn towards Sir Estival. And as he literally doesn't even wait for the horse to stop, he jumps off of the horse and he runs towards the paladin and he says, Sir Estival, my lord, my lord! I've got terrible news. I bring bad news. It seems Kromm's hold has been attacked by a black dragon. And the whole crowd is, oh, ooh. And then you can hear screams and people just starting to run. It's like the lights were turned on and all of the cockroaches are starting to scatter now, as it seems like Duke Daggerford and the Lady of Daggerford, they're just mortified as they're standing there. And Sir Estival is kind of just scratching his chin, and he says, "A black dragon has attacked Kromm's hold, you say?" And he says, yes, my lord. As soon as it attacked, the Baroness, Win Kromm, she sent me for reinforcements. Oh, so what do you guys think? All this going on around you. Holy cow.
After that lightning, I was hiding under the table.
Yeah, the lightning has been striking all over the place. Thundering is loud, but it wasn't as loud as the crowd, though. I mean, the crowd was definitely louder than that.
I'm completely drunk by this point, so the screaming was barely heard, but I heard the black dragon, and I was like, oh, there goes the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, it was really quiet. I mean, that was just when Arvik Zaltos was swinging in the wind. And, you heard a couple cheers from the crowd, they were cheering, yay, yelling a few other obscenities and stuff like that. But then that's when the horse rider from Kromm's Keep, or Kromm's Hold, ran up to Istival and told him that the dragon was attacking. So what say you, adventurers? What do you think of this?
No, it's definitely out of my league. I don't want to deal with a dragon.
Well, the Duke Daggerford, of course, he gets out of his Duke Maldwin Daggerford. He gets out of the his wagon, and now he's getting wet, and there are several of his servants that are holding this little canopy over him to where he doesn't get wet, of course, but it's not enough. And he goes over to Sir Istival, and they start talking, and Sir Istival seems like he's starting to get into protection mode and advising mode, as he's telling Lady Daggerford that we need to get some reinforcements over to Kromm's Hold, especially if there is a black dragon attacking. So the Baroness, she is dispatching a messenger on horseback back to the hold to say that reinforcements are on their way. So, as the news spreads of this dragon attacking, lightning flashing everywhere, Arbor Knights are starting to come out of the woodwork, and Sir Istival, you guys are standing pretty close to him. The bell starts ringing in the background, and Istival turns towards you and he says, my friends, it seems Kromm's Hold is well defended, but a dragon, it might be a bit too much of a threat, even for Baroness Wynn. You guys look like you can handle yourselves, so if you guys have no other business going on, we could use some additional reinforcements and you'll be compensated for your time. Would you like to join us?
How compensated?
You'll be compensated wages per day, just like the other soldiers, which is a couple silver a day.
Couple silver a day for a black dragon.
That's what we can offer. But if you go off on your own, you find anything that, of course, is yours to keep. But you'll be compensated, and I'm sure there will probably be some kind of bonuses given out as well to everyone that goes. I'll make sure of it.
Rain peeks her head out from under the table. That was some awful timing, wasn't it?
Who do you say that to, Rain?
Just in general.
Oh. A bad timing for what,
everybody. The dragon attacking just as everybody's in town for the hanging. Almost like it was planned that way.
Well, Duke Maldwin, he's, talking to Sir Istival, and he's saying basically the bulk of the militia needs to stay here, Sir Istival, just in case that dragon attacks. And this image that I just shared to you guys, this is what Duke Maldwin Daggerford looks like. Very Casanova-looking type of gentleman. Exactly. So he's telling Sir Istival that the majority of the militia needs to stay here. What if the dragon attacks us here? And then, of course, Sir Istival, he looks towards the Duke and says, "Of course, Your Grace. That would be quite wise, actually." And he says 30 stalwart men and horses should suffice. So then the Duke turns over towards Lord Flotian and asks if he would join him, as they both kind of go off and get into the cart, and it seems like they're going north back towards the hold, towards the keep that dominates the northern portion of Daggerford. So now all of this militia is starting to rally. You can hear the bells and the horns in the background. People are warming up and practicing. They're practicing dueling and whatnot. And it seems like Sir Istival's going to lead this nice little brigade of soldiers to Kromm's Hold. And it seems like there's about 30 soldiers or so. And if you guys want to go, you'll be supplied with a horse that you can ride.
Well, we'll say you, Zero, and Ender. I'll go with you guys if you guys are heading.
Yeah, I'd be willing to look at this threat.
Istavul said that he will...
Saying goes, something is afoot in Waterdeep. I mean, it's not actually Waterdeep, but that was the saying.
Yeah, Istavul said, absolutely, something is definitely amiss. And we need to find out what it is. So he says, I will compensate you a little bit more because it looks like you are stout adventurers. And I wasn't trying to, knock you or anything. Trying to offer you lower wages or anything, but that is usually, when the Duke is around, I have to follow protocol, and I hope you don't mind.
I can understand.
Since I'm still under the table, I'm going to be playing with the tassels on his boot.
We'll make sure that you're compensated quite nicely for your time. All right, so you guys want to head to Kromm's Hold or what?
I'll go and grab Rain from underneath the table and tell her what's going on.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't want to get wet.
Try to get that box.
All right, so you
Excuse me,
guys
sir,
go back
can we have
into
a
the
box
tavern.
and put this cat in this box?
That box isn't big enough for that cat. That's one hell of a big cat.
You want to try me?
You have I'm sure you probably have some type of traveling cloak or something like that that could
I
keep
have
you
basic traveler's
semi-dry.
clothes, but as a cat, you don't like getting wet. And even a actual tiger will try to fit in like a banana box. So.
So what are you gonna do?
Well, if she's getting in the box, one of you guys are carrying her.
I don't know. We'll say that you can squeeze inside of the bushel box. Sure.
I have a +3 to Dex. I can squeeze in there.
That'll require an acrobatics check.
I got that.
No, I'm just kidding. So you got about 15 minutes or so before Estival is going to ride out to Kromm's Hold. And Kromm's Hold, here is the area of Daggerford again. Just a several hour ride from Daggerford to the southwest. And this hold is what defends Daggerford from the Lizard Marsh. It's exactly what it means. Exactly what it says. It has a ton of lizard men. And plus there's a lot of other things in there too. And in the past, that's why the hold was built by, Baroness Wynne Kromm's family many years ago to protect Daggerford. So it's basically the only thing that stops the massive army of the lizard men from attacking Daggerford. And it's, like I said, it's a couple of hour journey on horseback. And it's to the southwest.
Yeah, I say I know of this hold. It's very close to where my family live. I'd be happy to go out here and investigate what's going on and see if these rumors are true of this black dragon.
Yeah. You guys want to take care of anything else in Daggerford before you start to make the move towards Kromm's Hold? Istavul is making final preparations to head southwest.
I'm stealing a spoon from the bar.
All right. Is it one of Omi Barton's spoons?
I don't know, it's just pretty.
Is Lord Flotian still in the area?
Lord Flotian had gotten to the carriage with Duke Maldwin Daggerford, and then they left for the keep inside of Daggerford. He had asked Sir Flotian to join him.
So is
For
Sir
some
Estival still here?
Yes, Sir Estival is outside. He's gathering the troops, and he's been able to muster 30 horses, so everybody can ride there pretty quickly.
All right, so while we're waiting around before we depart, I would like to ask Sir Estival if,
Yes.
while they had Arvik in detention, if they learned anything else from him.
Well, we didn't find anything out. That's the whole problem. Like, I don't know if you've heard, but Lady Daggerford, our Master of Arms here in Daggerford, she offered him amnesty to ship him back to the lands of Thay. But he didn't divulge any information. Obviously, he's with the orcs, because it was a concentrated attack on the estate of Lord Flotian. And all of his servants were taken. I believe there was about a dozen or so that were taken. But other than that, we don't know anything. He wouldn't give us any information. He was disguised as one of the gardeners of the estate, and he had worked there for probably about I think it was about a month or so. But we had heard from the grapevine that from our informatives that he was actually the one in cahoots, and he was the one that actually planned all of this.
Were any of the orcs captured?
None of the orcs were captured. In fact, none of the orcs were even killed. There were no bodies of any orcs at the estate. It was a clean job. It was definitely coordinated, that's for sure.
That doesn't sound right.
How was the Red Wizard captured?
Here in town. He was shacked up in one of the inns, and the guards nabbed him. After we had found out that he was the one that was disguised, and we found out his name, and we found out that he was a wizard of Thay through our informants here, that's when we nabbed him up.
Why would he stay?
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Any other questions for Sir Estival? As he gets help up onto his horse because he can't do it by himself now, so a couple of the other guards help him up onto his warhorse. Got like a heavy barding on it and whatnot. Not like the horse you guys are riding on. This thing is a beautiful, like, midnight black horse. Heavy armor. It's got a couple more weapons hanging off of the saddle. Everybody's starting to mount up.
Something very, very big is afoot. I think that's the right phrase. Is that the right phrase?
Yes. Something is afoot, Tabaxi. He says something is definitely afoot as lightning crashes in the background.
Have you heard of any other dragon raids or any other word of any other dragons attacking cities within this area?
Well, not lately. There hasn't been any kind of dragon raids or anything like that. In fact, I didn't even know that there was a dragon near here. Maybe there's something in the marsh. I have no clue. We haven't had any problems with dragons for quite some time.
All right, so we'll check out this marsh too.
I go ahead and mount onto the horse.
Okay.
And
Everybody
the name
gets...
is Rain in Summer of the Gentle Storm clan. You can call me Rain.
Oh, part of a clan. Okay, Rain, you said? Okay. He just kind of nods towards you.
It still kind of gets me that your name is Rain, but you don't like to be out and getting wet.
I was thinking the same thing. I really was.
Okay, I was born in a cave while it was raining. I wasn't outside
of the cave? Mm-hmm. So Sir Estival, he tells all of the knights on the 30 mounts, and he says, "To Kromm's hold!" And everybody holds up their weapon and says, "Ha-ha!" So everybody starts to ride off. Like I said, it's several mile trip to Kromm. And a little bit of information about Kromm. I think 010, you were the one that said that you knew where Kromm was and you had actually seen it previously, right? Or was it Ander?
It was Andrew.
Okay. So you guys know that the Kromm family has been the one they've been the takers of this keep for quite some time. And Baroness Wynne Kromm, she is the one this is her part. She's doing her part as, being a member of the Kromm family. And they take care of everything from Kromm down to Dragonspear Castle, which is in the Shining Valley down south. Now, she has, that, especially being you've been there before and whatnot, that she is very strict and she runs a very tight ship. And she doesn't have a lot of mutiny or anything. There's not a lot of desertion, anything like that. And actually, all of her men really respect her. And she doesn't tolerate any crap. And she, like I said, she takes care of all of the problems of the lizard marsh. She takes it very seriously. And there was actually a small period of time where Kromm's Hold actually fell into ruin. And this is when the orcs were attacking Daggerford and whatnot, probably about 20 years or so ago. But she came back, Baroness Wynne, as in her youth, she came back and she actually rebuilt the hold. So she's been here ever since. I think it took her about 5 years or so to rebuild Kromm's Hold. And she's been there ever since, and the hold hasn't fallen one time, hasn't been abandoned or anything. So as you guys are riding southwest towards the keep, you're going through all of the farmhouse and cottage territory. And under the stormy skies, you start to approach, and this is after several hours. You're riding at actually a pretty quick pace. And you see Kromm's Hold off into the distance. And this is what it looks like. Of course, without the lizard men there, you're not looking at the lizard men. But you can see that this squat keep is on a hill. And it basically sits on an embankment that overlooks the lizard marsh. Whoa, kind of cows and stuff you can hear as you're going through all the farmsteads and whatnot. So you guys are galloping across the open field towards the hold, and you don't see any signs of battle. None at all. You don't see any dragon flying around. You don't hear it roaring. Nothing. All you can hear is the thunder rolling across the sky as you approach. And then the rain actually starts to let up a little bit. And then a mist with very cool winds hitting you in the face starts to rise from the earth. So as you guys get a little bit closer to Kromm's Hold, the gates start to open as you approach. And as all 30 of these armored horse go into the courtyard of Kromm's Hold, you can see that there is a stable. You can see a bailey with a well. You can see there's a small pasture inside of the hold. There's a training yard. And then the keep itself is quite simple. There's a manor house there also. Looks like it's recently been built. But as you're going in, unfortunately, you see a row of 6 corpses in the yard. And as you're going by, you notice that they're all human. And then you also see guards up on each side of the wall. And as Istival is leading all of you in, you can see coming out of the manor house is an armored woman, probably in her mid to late 30s. And she's accompanied by another man that's armored. And he actually has like a bandaged shoulder to where his wrist is kind of tied to his chest. Definitely has some type of wound. So as you guys approach, the woman also approaches Sir Estival, and she removes one of her gauntlets and she extends a hand and she says, "Welcome to Kromm's Hold. my friend. She says, it's been a long time, and you are a sight for sore eyes. And then Sir Istival said, you haven't had all the fun, have you? Don't tell me you've already slain and buried the dragon already. So they both kind of chuckle, you know. And the Baroness, she says, I'm afraid not, Sir Istival. She says it quite dryly, though. And she says, I'm not young as I used to be. But enough of that anyways. My sergeant here, his name is Durin. He's been stricken by a poisonous wound, and you can see that Durin just really looks pale, complexion-wise. And he's, you know, even though it's been raining, you can just see the beads of sweat kind of pouring down his head, you know, pouring down his forehead. So Sir Istival, he turns towards all of you, introduces you and the other knights to Baroness Kromm. And she, in turn, her captain comes up and she introduces you to him, and his name is Captain Falk. So now that everybody's been introduced, you can see that there's probably about 20 soldiers or so that are here at the keep. You know, like I said, there's some patrolling the walls. There's some tending to the 6 dead. And it's just a very quiet here. So what say you, adventurers?
Baroness Kromm, excuse me.
Yes.
For the, not doing the due diligence of the, formalities, but when did this dragon attack?
Well, it seemed like it almost appeared to be maybe an adult, like a huge adult dragon, maybe even. It was horrible. But it flew in from the Lizard Marsh and landed here in the Bailey. And you can see that there's a lot of like scorched ground, and it's kind of steaming, and you can smell a very faint hint of like an ammonia type of smell, very acidic in nature. And she said this black dragon, I almost thought it was an ancient black dragon, this thing was so big. But it called itself Thos-Ferin. And he called himself the Sun Swallower, the Chosen of Talana, and all these other titles. And I know that the Lizard Marsh is quite a famous spot for the dragons to hunt. But I didn't know that there was a black dragon so bold with so many titles that was here in the Lizard Marsh. It's news that is new to me. And that's as soon as he landed in the Bailey, that's when I sent the messenger to Daggerford hastily, and he wanted a parley, so I parlayed with him, and this black dragon Thos, he demanded tribute. And, by this point, you're looking over at, you can see that Sir Istival is just kind of nodding his head, and then he kind of like looks between you and her. And so the Baroness said that it demanded tribute, and I bartered that on the condition that the dragon would leave in peace, that I would give it tribute, and that the dragon agreed. So then the dragon departed. And then all of a sudden, a large force of these diseased, horrible-looking lizard men, they started attacking the keep from the west, overlooking the Lizard Marsh. I don't know if it had anything to do with this Thos. But the lizard folk, they tried to scale the outer wall. But my soldiers, unfortunately I lost 6, we were able to prevent them from getting inside of the keep. But, she tells you that there's about 25 or so dead lizard men. Says we lost 6, but they lost 25. So it was a great victory for us, and still the hold has not fallen since I've been in command here, and that I want to keep it that way. So Durin, he remember during one of her guards, he kind of goes down to one knee, and and he throws up, and he throws up this very light green type of bile, yellowish green bile, and he just looks bad, and then he just kind of collapses over onto his side. You could tell that he's still alive, but he's definitely suffering from something that poison related. Because of course, Baroness Kromm, she said that he was suffering from a grievous poisonous wound.
I'd like to check Sergeant Duran out and see if there's anything I can do to help him or alleviate his pain.
Sure. Why don't you give me a medicine check, a wisdom check, but if you have medicine, go ahead and add in that proficiency. All right, nice job. So, yeah, you can definitely tell that he's got a very bad laceration in his shoulder, and you have, with your medicine kit, you can, get some salves and some ointments, and, you kind of burn the wound a little bit as well and cauterize it. But it seems, almost instantly, he seems like he's starting to feel better. And this takes you about 10 to 15 minutes. But it's actually a pretty poisonous wound, and it was actually from the dragon. So after about 15 minutes or so, Duran is already back onto his feet, and he thanks you. And then the Baroness, he asks if he can continue on, and he says, "Yes, my lady." So, but he's not 100%, definitely not. And he goes staggering off because the Baroness takes him, gives him an order to take some of the men and get rid of those 25 disease-ridden corpses out to the swamp and give him a good burning. And then she wanted him to take the heads off of the lizard men and post them on pikes and spread them out in front of the keep to warn the lizard men that this is what's going to happen if you attack Kromm's hold. And, a couple of the men, actually, they kind of cheer about that. And Siristival just kind of gives the old slanted eyebrow look and says, "Wow, you've really got control of things here. Things are under control here at Kromm's hold." And she says, "I don't mess around, Siristival." She says, "I'm not a young teenager anymore."
Now, these lizardmen, have they attacked before?
Oh, yes, they attack from time to time. But it seems just a little fishy that they attack simultaneously as this ancient dragon Thos leaves our hold, and now all of a sudden, after I've given him this tribute, now these lizard men are starting to attack the hold. I just think that it seems a little bit fishy, and I think that they're working in cahoots as well.
Fish?
Fish? Excuse me? What was that, Rain? Fish?
I heard the word fish. I got hungry.
A little fishy. She says, fish in a tabaxi. That's an interesting, I guess they kind of do go hand in hand, as a couple of the guards chuckle at her wise crack on you. Yes.
Before you dismember these lizardmen, these diseased lizardmen that you say, has anybody checked them out? I mean, what seems to be any clues as to what might have diseased them?
I don't really have the luxury of having an acolyte here at Kromm's hold. I run a very skeleton crew. But if you have the knowledge and the know-how, my friend, you are more than welcome to go out there and help them take those lizardmen out to the marsh and burn them, and you can ascertain any information that you would like to. Feel free to.
Absolutely, point the way.
Sure. So as you're doing that, and as you're walking away with the contingency and the sergeant going out to burn these corpses, Siristival, he asks the Baroness, he says, "So, what type of tribute did you actually give to this Thos, this black dragon?" And she kind of pauses for a second, and she tells Siristival, "Well, she just kind of shrugs and says, I gave him an altar. And it's basically, I gave him an altar. It was a half-forgotten relic that was left behind in my ancestors. And when 20 years ago, when I came back and rebuilt Kromm's Hold, I found this down in the catacomb down below. And this, it was an altar that was made of like a bluish coral and with sides that looked like it had crashing waves and whatnot. But it's been locked away for many years down in the dungeons of the castle, and I'm not even sure how it got there. I don't know why it's there, but I'm not even sure how the dragon even knew of it. But that's it told me it wanted the altar, but I actually seen that. I think it was a pretty fair price to pay to save my soldiers' lives, because if I didn't, I'm sure I'd probably be in that pile of corpses right now. So that's what she told Siristival.
You don't know anything about the altar that you gave her?
I do not. But I'll tell you what. I believe who's the cleric here? Is it Ander? Ander, I'll let you give me a religion check as you're leaving the scene, joining the guards to put those heads on the spikes. And you can actually hear the Baroness telling this story. Nice roll, man. So, as she's describing this altar, made of blue, and it has, coral, and these, looks like waves are crashing, you remember that this could possibly be something that is involved with the deity called Umberlee, which is the evil sea goddess. So that's what you know of, would be of this altar, just from the descriptions of Baroness Wynn. Nice roll, really nice roll. Yeah, and as you're going out, you can look over the. As you're heading out of the western wall, you can see the corpses of these 25 dead lizard folk. And there's actually more that had been killed with arrows and whatnot from the archers up on the wall. And it's, they're down in that fluffy grass that's, basically under where the keep is overlooking the solid ground of the marsh. And give me a medicine check also as you're checking out these corpses, because they are disease riddled. Clutch roll again, nice bonus. Yeah, these things are infected with some type of rotting disease, and actually, of this disease, it's called swamp ass, and the swamp ass disease. Yeah, this swamp ass disease. If you're bit with it, you'll actually get what the Durin had up in the keep. So he was actually infected by this swamp ass disease also. But that it is very noxious, and if not treated, it could actually kill you.
So you gave a black dragon an altar that has something to do with sea, and don't you think like these vicious storms have something to do with this?
I have no clue, my friend. I mean, it's been storming for several weeks now. Why did the dragon not attack several weeks ago when it first started storming? I just think that we're just having a bad luck of weather, but that's just me. But I do think that there's something.
When that guy was being hanged.
What guy being hanged? And in Siristival, he goes into talking about Lord Flotian's estate, and she goes, "Oh, I heard that his estate was sacked about 4 days ago." And then Istival goes into telling her about the Red Wizard Arvik Zaltos, and that how he was hanged the moment that the rider from Kromm's Hold came in and told everybody that there was a dragging attack in the hold. And she's like, "Oh wow." So she didn't really know. She, like I said, she's, 10 miles away or so from Daggerford. So she's out of the loop on all of the now type of news,
Was it just me, or did he have glowing tattoos?
He did. And Istival said,